What up? This is Rama Screen covering movies, TV, and entertainment, and here's my review of Netflix new movie, Luther, the Fallen Son. Hey, before you watch my review, please subscribe to my channel, press that like button, ring that bell, so you can get notified whenever I post new videos. Let's rock this. Okay, let me be clear. Luther, the Fallen Son is a very flawed movie. It's not a perfect movie at all by a long shot. But my bias is showing since I was a huge fan of the old show, Luther series. So, to tell you the truth, I'm just glad to see Idris Elba back in his iconic role, even for a TV movie quality like this, which frankly is just okay. That said, I stand by my social media reaction when I first screened this film. Luther the Fallen Son is intense and gripping. It commits a lot of blunders and inconsistencies out of convenience, unfortunately, but it's also a damn intriguing cat and mouse thriller. And Andy Serkis is bloody scary as the villain. Who would have thought that lovable mocap master can be surprisingly fearsome? Written by Neil Cross and directed by Jamie Payne, Luther the Fallen Son is an epic continuation of the award-winning television saga reimagined for film. A gruesome serial killer is terrorizing London while brilliant but disgraced detective John Luther sits behind bars, haunted by his failure to capture the cyber psychopath who now taunts him. Luther decides to break out of prison to finish the job by any means necessary. Starring Idris Elba, Cynthia Erivo, Andy Serkis, and Dermot Crowley as Martin Schenk. Okay, Rama, do you need to have watched the original show first before you go watch this movie? Yes and no. I mean, you don't necessarily have to have the complete knowledge of Luther franchise, every single detail in the back of your head. But Neil Cross did bridge the show to this movie so as to reward the loyal fans. You know, little bits and pieces here and there in Luther the Fallen Son that'll make you say, ooh, I understood that reference or what that's implying there. But for the most part, the story does a decent job of being its own self that the non-fans can also potentially enjoy. However, after having watched Luther the Fallen Son, I have come to the conclusion that this whole thing could have been better told as a season 6 instead of a feature-length format, which leads to my next criticism in that even clocking in at 2 hours plus runtime, the script skims through much of the detective process, which then makes John Luther seem like a superpowered DCI. I mean, I get it. I get that there's such a thing as intuition and hunches, but the way that Luther puts 2 and 2 together in this movie in such a quick manner is a bit ridiculous. You see, an episodic series format could provide ample, sensible time to examine how one clue connects with the other. As for the antagonist, well, let's face it, it's difficult to top Alice Morgan, and what Ruth Wilson did with that role was phenomenal. Andy Serkis' character David Robbie, on the other hand, I wouldn't call him the Moriarty to Luther's Holmes. This film ultimately turns Serkis into more of a Bond villain. But this hold that his character has on people, by way of blackmailing them, does make him formidable, though not invincible. Andy Serkis brings his A game for this one. I cannot say the same for Oscar nominee Cynthia Erivo, whose role could have easily been played by a lesser caliber actress since her story arc is not all that substantive or consequential or significant until the third act. So I'll end on this. Luther the Fallen Son is not worth watching in the movie theater because there's not much about it that I would consider cinematic. But it's definitely worth watching on Netflix when it soon hits the streaming service. So, even though this movie could have been better, I did enjoy and appreciate the Idris Elba and Neil Cross reunion. Luther franchise has become like a safety net for them, creatively speaking, in between every other gig, and I'm totally fine with that.